Well, build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance that's bit in his eye. Well, they gave me bars, but I can see between to a dusty yard and a long gone green. They call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I drown my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone. I'm sober.
Hello everybody, welcome to Quick Bag of Batty. I'm your host. Hibs have just been beat 1-0 by St Johnstone. So we'll just get right to it and let everybody vent. Raymond, you're first up tonight. What was your take on that?
Poor. Poor. I don't know where to start, really. There was nothing incisive there. I'll start. I'll tell you what I'll start with. I'll start with St Johnstone. Well done to St Johnstone for showing how to take a lead and hold a lead, because doing that was we never broke them down at all. We never showed any invention. Long diagonal ball, purchase is I don't know what that's all about. I really don't know what that's all about. Appears to have been told to play a long ball and to presumably, well, this was before Doidge was on. Now nobody was winning that ball. Nobody won the second ball. St Johnstone took possession, we pushed up the park with less space in behind, and they were able to move into that space. So tactically, I think it was awful.
Well, guys, if you could just get used to pop on mute, there's a wee bit of background noise there. So if you're not speaking, if you could pop on to mute a wee second for us. It's an interesting point that you make there, Raymond, about the long ball, because I said that to Josh when we were watching it. I think it was McGinn shelled one up towards Nisbet. And I said, what's the point in doing that? Because Nisbet's not going to win the ball for a start. But if he does win it, there's nobody near him.
No.
So what are you expecting him to do with it? It was just...
no,
so
absolutely not. That's you hit the nail on the head, exactly. So you're trying to play that ball into an area, yeah. It's to an area, yeah. So you need someone, for instance, Doidge, who we've been crying. I certainly have. I've been guilty of that. Mm-hmm. So you need him there if you're going to play that ball, because he's got to win it to get the second ball. But then there's nobody from the midfield falling into the areas to take that second ball on. So even if Nisbet was to win it, what's he looking to do? Because who's he flicking onto? Who's he knocking it down to? It was amateur hour.
It was grim, eh? Thanks, Raymond. Ewan, you're normally a voice of reason on this, Ewan, so I'm interested to hear your views on it.
It was really, really bad, wasn't it? Like, just we've seen that performance quite a lot this season, and it just, the first half, it was like we've planned all week to play with Christian Doidge, and then at the last minute said, nah, we'll just bench him, like, because we just went more direct, and even last week we weren't that direct, and just no creativity in the final third at all. And like, I don't know if Jack Ross has seen that Scott Allen's allowed to play football, because what's the point? Like, why is Halberg coming on? Why? Like, why? Like, what? Just why? Like, what's the point? I don't think any of his changes were right today. Doidge coming on, but the players that maybe come on, except Halberg, were the right players, but the players that went off, weren't they? How Gogic, why is he played 90 minutes? Why bring Doidge on and take the only player on the team that can cross a ball off? Like, it just, none of it makes sense. And just there was just everything that was good about us in the 3 games that we won, and then it sort of dropped off against Hamilton. The directness, the pace, the urgency across the Hamilton game, and then last week and today is just completely disappeared for the team. And there was a complete and utter lack of ideas again. And once again, we've seen as soon as we go behind, that's game over. Literally, we all could have saved ourselves 17. We effectively got £1. If you paid £17.50 for that, you got £1 for every minute of the game that like was actually valid, because as soon as St Johnstone finished, you'd have been as well blown full time. As soon as they scored, you'd been as well blown full time whistle. Like, we can't come from behind.
It was one of those games. I don't know why. Where the fourth official put up 4 minutes at the end. I had the St Johnstone TV commentary on, and the boy says it's nobody associated with the club wants to see 4 minutes going up there. And I'm thinking, we didn't want to see 4 minutes going up there. Like, you could have taken 4 minutes off the game and it would have been better for us.
Just for you saying that, I was on the away team video, so I had Cliff Pike and Tam McManus on it. And see, to be honest, their commentary's actually getting a bit insulting, I think. Like, going on about how Hibs dominated the game in the second half and St Johnstone only had one chance. Hibs, right, we had the ball, but St Johnstone let us attack, if you want to call it attack. Like it just, there was just nothing to Hibs today, and it was really, really disappointing. And that's 2 weeks in a row where we really could have clinched third. Like, Aberdeen haven't scored in 2 games, and they're a point closer to us. Like, it's just so disappointing, so disappointing.
Cheers, Lee. What was your take on the game, mate?
You know me, I've been positive over the last few weeks and I'm not really associated with positivity. But the day was pish. It was absolutely terrible. And the long ball doesn't work for us. It never has. Do you know? And if you're going to play long ball football, you need to put Christian Doidge on the park. Doidge huds the ball up and plays Nisbet in like what we were doing at the start of the season. I didn't understand why we compensated for Boyle again. I thought Boyle had a pretty poor game today, and I thought Cadden was unlucky to get taken off. And when Boyle moved out in the wide, Hibs never went down that side. And to be honest with you, I'm surprised Hibs didn't go more on the left, because Michael O'Halloran is never a fullback in your life, never in your life. And we didn't work him enough. Do you know what I mean? Like we didn't ask questions, Michael O'Halloran at all. But even so, we created nothing. It was just all round really, really poor. And we're actually lucky Aberdeen are that bad, seriously, because we could have had, over the last 2 games, we genuinely could have had third place wrapped up. But like what someone said earlier, Scott Allen's sitting on the bench. We needed that bit of creativity. I was thinking, all right, cool. He's obviously still got Gogic on the patch, and I didn't think Gogic was particularly impressive today. I thought he was terrible, and he done his normal fouling everybody. But Scott Allen should have been on that park the last 20, 25 minutes to give Hibs a little bit of a spark, get the ball to him, try to create chances. Just nothing, do you know, just nothing. And it's so frustrating when we've got a really good chance of wrapping up third place, and it just feels like we've choked a game.
Aye. Andy, what about you, mate? What do you think of the game?
I mean, it started off with just shelling the ball left and right, trying to get Boyle in behind, trying to spring him in behind the defenders. But that tactic, if that's a tactic for Ross, which I believe it will be, is absolutely deplorable. You know, there's no need for it to be like that, because we've got players that can pass the ball. When Jackson Irvine first came into the team, he was passing the ball in behind for Boyle. Boyle was scoring goals. Games like today, you bring on Hallberg instead of Allen. It's mental. It was mentioned earlier on, but I just could not get away from that. But for me, Jack Ross's yellow card in the last minute, right, was the most passion he showed the whole game. And the team he picked, personnel-wise, was okay, but the formation, what was he doing? 4-3-3. And trying to spring, as I've already said, is trying to spring Boyle in behind. It's not really good enough. And it's quite worrying that this has happened probably 5, 6, 7 times now in the season, and yet we're third, which I can regularly write, tweet and speak about how good Scottish football actually is compared to what people talk it down to be. But Aberdeen are third in this. Hibs are third in the league above Aberdeen, and it's quite embarrassing actually. You know, from a point of view of the Scottish League, I'm thinking it's better than what it is, but it really isn't. We're very poor and third in the league.
It's a funny thing you say there, because I agree. If you look at when we're bad, we then look like a team that's third in the league. Like we look terrible. But I would say when we get it right, we look like a team that's decent. That you would say we would get a result against a lot of teams. So it's like we're either really good or we're fucking shite. There's no in between with Hibs at the moment. It seems to be what we're getting. You'll have a no bad performance, and if you watched us on those days, you could totally understand why we're third. If you watched us last week and this week, though, you'd be scratching your head to think, how are we even top 6?
It's a bit like Boyle set pieces. They're either really good or they're crap. There's no in between. We're no beating the first man every time. How he's on set pieces when you've got Joe Newell came back into the team, so surely he would have been taking set pieces again. It's just things like that, eh?
everybody remember where they were the day that Martin Ball had his good free kick? Like the JFK moment. He's not been great on the set pieces for a wee while. Thanks, Andy. Jim, I'll come to you next. What was your take on it? What do you think's happening with Hibs now?
Well, I'll tell you what, Paul. I've got this thing about in my head with Jack Ross. Jack Ross, you guys have probably watched Sunderland Till I Die. And I remember one thing about Jack Ross, and this is my whole blame culture. He played against Morecambe or something in his Johnston Cup final. They were 1-0 up, they got beat 2-1. We played Hearts, Easter Road, we were 1-0 up. Second half, it came to go beat 2-1. We cannot, to this day, I've never seen Jack Ross team at Easter Road play 90 minutes. We get 45 minutes, whether it's the first half or whether it's the second half.
I agree with that.
Today, Hibs had maybe 10 corners. Hibs had maybe more than 10 corners against St Johnstone at Hampden. There was one delivery today, and there was one delivery in the semi-final that were good. The rest were absolutely shite. What is going on? I'll tell you what's going on. Jack Ross has lost the dressing room now. I don't know why. I don't know why, but there's something not right, and it's all stemmed for the Kevin Nisbet handing in a transfer request and Hibs refusing the transfer request. I don't know about you guys that's sitting there. I don't know what your thoughts are on this. The last 5 or 6 games, all right, we've won 3 or 4, but the performances have been crap. We're in a position where we could be, third in the league. Good God. There's something not quite right, guys, and I don't know what it is. I've watched him for considerably longer than all you guys are sitting there. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is, but there's something not quite right.
Well, it's definitely no clicking now. I mean, there's no arguments there. I would say, again,
what do you guys think?
Well, I would say when you've gone four games in a row where we won, prior to the last 2, there were good performances there. I think it's important that folk don't dismiss those good performances or write them off, or because that's what happens. We have a couple of shite games like we've just, and you forget that before that it was all right. And the same, if we win the next 2, we'll forget we had 2 shite ones just there. That's the way the football fans work. I reckon if that's symptomatic of Jack Ross losing the dressing room, but you'd have to look at the last 2 performances and wonder how it's going, how it can be so different in those games compared to when we were winning them, because they're night and day performances. There's no correlation between us beating Aberdeen and the team that lost today.
Matty, do you think? Sorry for.
It's all right.
Do you think that the performance against Hamilton, we won 2-0 against 10 men? Do you think that was good enough?
Aye.
Do you think
that game was fine?
Oh, come on, Matty. That wasn't a great performance.
We started shite. Right, so the first 10 minutes.
We can't get 90 minutes, son.
Right, but the 80 minutes that we played, we won. We were comfortable. We won the game. They bother. Do you know? It's. I totally agree with you. We're only getting 90 minutes at the team, and it tends to be a good first half or a good second half that we're getting.
Yes.
But
yes.
There's been plenty of times this season where we've not been great, but we've been comfortable in games. 1 second, I'm going to come up to Andy. Andy's got his hand up, and then I'm going to come to Liam and get Liam's point next. Andy, what do you want to say, mate?
Just quickly, because I've obviously spoken already, but what I want to say is last week we had 67% of possession. This week we had 66% of possession. But over the 2 games, we've had 5 shots on target. That's
the problem,
not
isn't
good
it?
enough.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And this is the thing. Even look at the day's game. St Johnstone had 1 shot on target as well. They've come away with a 1-0 win. Marciano's not had a save to make the whole game. That I can remember anyway.
No,
they've had 1 shot for outside the box as well.
Yep.
So they go in half time 1-0 up. The difference between the 2 teams at half time is they scored their 1, Newell puts his 1 wide. So it's no like, and this is the thing I'm making. It's not like defensively we were shocking the day or anything like that, or no at it. The problem's all going forward from what I can see. Liam, I'll bring you in just now. What was your thoughts?
Where to start? I like the lineup when I seen the team. I thought there's a lot to be positive about. I was quite chuffed when I seen the team. I think in this league, unfortunately, when you go one goal behind, you very seldom see teams come back to win the game from going a goal behind in this league at the minute. And the harsh reality is, we were a team today that was set up to counter attack. If you look at that team and how we set up in the first half, we set up to counter attack. The counter attack didn't work. There was too many times in the first half where we checked back inside when we were on the break. There was nothing happening. Second half, there was just you can say a lack of creativity, but I mean, probably doesn't even go far enough to describe how much we lacked in the final third. It was torture watching that second half. It was the longest fucking 45 minutes I've had in a long time. It was really dreadful. And you know, for me, the disappointing thing about Jack Ross is I think he's been a manager who more often than not has learned from his mistakes. So typically when I see him make a mistake, I see him correct that the next game. Did not learn from his mistakes this week. The Motherwell game, you know, the scoreline was different, but the outcome was the same. Motherwell scored first, and we were devoid of ideas to break them down. And you've got a guy on the bench who can change the game, Scott Allen, and he's, you know, Ewan said it as well, but I think Lee said it too, to be fair. How he was sat on the bench for that entire second half, I have no idea, because the game was calling out for Scott Allen. I'm bringing Doidge on, fair enough, but to me, the game's gone by that point. If you bring Doidge on against those St Johnstone centre halves, that's fucking meat and drink for them. They're loving that ball being lumped up to them. That's the way they want to play. They don't want the ball in the deck. They want it in the air, and they dominated the game when we put it up in there. So I'm a big fan of Jack Ross. Still think he's the man, but he needs to start learning from his mistakes, and we need to start putting in better performances than we did today.
Aye. Raymond, I saw you put your hand up, and Ewan, I think you had your hand up as well. So I'll come to Raymond, and then I'll come to you, Ewan, and then Tracy, I'll come to you after that. Raymond, what did you want to say there?
It was almost to sort of back up just that what you said there, the devoid of ideas. But the thing that concerns me is, as soon as we go behind in a game, as pretty much most people have said here, you can just about guarantee that we're not going to get anything from that game, because we cannot break down teams that put 11 men behind the ball. We need to, the way that we've won our games this season has been counter-attacking. Now, we do that by having teams coming at us and then exploiting the space. Now, if you've not got the space, there's no one there. There's no one in that team at the moment that seems to be able to pick a pass out. I think there was one turn of play where we managed to put like a couple of 1-2s together and a couple of neat bits and pieces. I think Cadden was involved and Boyle. I can't remember who got the shot. Can't remember who got the shot off. First half, that was about the only thing in the first half that I can think of. There's no creativity. It's actually worse than that, because there's not only no creativity, but there's nobody appears to be able to think outside the box themselves and say, right, okay, I'm going to move into a position here. I'm going to create some space. I'm going to draw a man. I'm going to move here, draw that defender, allow someone to move into that position. It's poor. It's poor.
Are you on the Roadrunner cartoons, by the way? So I was playing in the background.
I put them on after about an hour.
Aye. I fucking love the Roadrunner, right.
That's where.
No, to be fair, I was sort of just going to say what was said there. On the back of what Andy said about the possession and Liam said about the counter-attack, it's so obvious that Hibs are a counter-attack team. We're not designed to have 65% of the ball, especially with I thought I was on mute there, sorry. And I don't think that we, and then when you've got players like Scott Allen on the bench, surely at the end of the day, even like I think Jackson Irvin's decent, like maybe not being great the last couple of weeks, but he's not a number 10 as such. And as soon as we can counter teams, we're done. But I'm not going to say any more because it's just an echo chamber.
No worries. Tracy, I'll come to you now. What's your views on it, Tracy?
Actually, I'm normally glued, but even today I find myself going backwards and forwards, making cups of coffee, and I mean, it was pretty much a bore fest. You know, I don't ever believe any player goes out to lose a game of football. That I agree that there does appear, it looks like there's something happening. I don't think Jack Ross has lost the dressing room by any means, because I think I think they're a very close unit there, all the lads, and I think Jack as well. I think they've all got the respect for Jack, so I don't think that's an issue at all. But there's something just not clicking on the park, and he needs to find what that is and make those changes. I do think he should have started with Doidge and Nisbet up front from the start. That messed up me not winning the signed shirt, and it messed up my Hibs picks. Apart from that, but yeah, no, I can't really argue with much anyone's been saying. To be honest, it was very lethargic, and just there wasn't a lot of kind of urgency in our passing, and it was just. I thought Paul Hanlon and Doig, I thought they had a decent second half, but and they were actually getting forward. But there didn't seem to be much service towards the strikers at all.
Do you think there's an argument that this will sound kind of counterintuitive, and you don't mind if you call me an idiot here, we've maybe got a few too many good players for the same positions, like in similar bits.
Yeah.
So if you look, we're trying to get Cadden and Boyle into the team together, and actually we end up with them not being quite as effective as we could be. We're trying to get Newell into the team, but that's at the expense of Scotty Allen, or like that. It's like we're trying to fit square pegs into round holes just to get folk on the pitch.
Yeah, especially in midfield, we've got too many similar players. Again, I don't see the problem in trying to start Scott Allen. If you feel he's getting fatigued or the rest of it, then take him off. But I was surprised it wasn't even brought on today.
I think it's too early for Scott Allen. What he's come out with, he's missed a hell of a lot of time. There's players there that are very, very skillful, and Matty says they're quite right. Some great players, but wrong positions, or where do they fit them in? We've got Doidge, who had a good season last season, pretty shite this season. Let's not be. Well, Nisbet, who started off like fantastic. This was to me, he was a player like Gordon Jury, who was going to be, yes. He put a transfer request in, and everything just went tits up. Since that moment where we rejected the two money, or the money from the two teams, everything's not went right since that pivotal moment. And Nisbet, the laddie was potentially, could have been in the Scotland team. The way other players have fucked up, that laddie, his head spangled. And I know he had problems with his dad passing away. That laddie is class, but for whatever reason, it's sad, like.
It's just not happening now, is it?
It's just not happening, Matty, and the rest of you guys. I don't know what is, but
right. Well, we'll move along here. We're in the last few minutes. Liam, you had your hand up. You want to come and make a point, and I'll come to Kaiser Soze and Jamie.
I just really quickly, conscious other folk haven't spoke yet, but I just if you're looking for a positive today, and you have to look hard to find it. To be fair, I mean, Doig made a pretty horrendous mistake in terms of that clearance for the first goal, but he didn't go missing afterwards. He kept wanting the ball, kept on making runs down the left-hand side. I thought he was comfortably our best player again today, and he was probably one of our better players the week before, not against Motherwell, but against Hamilton. So you have to go hard to look for it. And then just finally, Kevin Nisbet, I thought he actually, things did not come off for him today, but I thought he actually looked like he was trying out there. He was trying to make things happen. He was trying to get on the ball. But I'll shut up now and let other people speak. But I think those, if you're looking for positives, that's it.
A few notes and agreements. Kaiser Soze, come to you next, mate. What was your take on it?
Pish. I wrote a couple of notes in that when I was watching the game, and then to be honest with you, I ended up having a 15-minute conversation with one of my pals about how they could have made an episode of The Walking Dead about all the fucking Huns outside Ibrox. So that's how good the game was, because my mate's like, do you want me to let you go and watch the football? And I said, nah, it's fucking shite. So I just pretty much the same as everybody else. It was shite, but I hope this is just like December when we went on a kind of a 2-game bad run. And that's kind of what keeps you going. It's a hope in it. And Hibs never fail to fuck your life up, didn't you know? So, I hope it is just a bit. I kind of wrote an R note, and it was just, and I've wrote it like 3 underlines, and I just put passionless pricks, right? And I know that's maybe got to be
It's like sex life.
But so I just, as I said, I know a lot of things weren't coming off. I do agree that this bit did try a bit harder, but it does seem like there's something wrong with the team. It does seem like the morale, whatever the fuck it is, they need to sort it out. Jack Ross needs to sort it out, but hopefully, as I say, hopefully this is just off a similar vein as December. A couple of shite games, and then we go back to kicking it again. And yet again, Aberdeen fucked it. So, I think we're lucky again today, and hopefully the losing form fucking stops after the day.
Fingers crossed. Right, Jamie, you can wrap us up, mate. What was your take on it?
I didn't really know what else to add into that in terms of how bad we were today. But before I come on, I know you touched on it in terms of Newell. Somebody had tweeted, I think you retweeted it, about trying to shoehorn him into the team. Now, I think Newell is an absolutely terrific footballer and well worth his new deal, but we're trying to change the system to allow him to come back into the side. I'm not really that sure. The whole Scott Allen thing, I can absolutely 100% sympathise with what everybody's saying. Is he not playing because he's not up to speed yet? And if that's the case, why is he even on the bench? If you're going to bench a guy, he should be fit enough to play. And if he's fit enough to play, he should be on the pitch. It's as simple as that. I also don't think that Jack Ross has lost the dressing room for me. I'd still stick with him. I know there's still people looking to kind of knives out and get him out the club for whatever reason, but for me, he still has to keep at the job. Still think he's doing a decent enough job. There's something lacking. I can't put my finger on where it is, what area of the pitch. Obviously, going forward and scoring goals over the last couple of games has been an issue, but it wasn't an issue before that. So, where is that kind of wee change in? Has it just been a wee change in formation? That, to be honest with you, I'm not a tactician. I'm not looking at the game thinking he's changing this, he's doing this. I'm just looking for us to move forward to try and score goals. So I don't know what the slight changes have been, but for whatever reason, it has just over the last. I think since the Hamilton game, I know I was kind of boisterous in that chat. We weren't at it in that first 10 minutes, and their man getting sent off really changed the game for us. And it's been the same vein for that 10 minutes and in the Motherwell game in the day. Something just lacking, but we've still got the side, I think. Still got definitely the side to finish stuff.
Okay, Jim, just so your hand up there, you can.
Yeah. Just one quick thing about we're in a position third in the league. We've never been in a position for many years to be third in the league. The team and the manager, we should be busting a frigging gut to get that position, and we should be going out every single week now. I don't know what Jack's position. I'm fed up talking about Jack Ross. We're in a position to qualify for third in the league. We're not going to get first or second. God almighty, we could have been, had a chance, but we're toiling. I don't know what it is, but we've just we're in a position now to blow this away is huge. For us guys that are sitting in the house watching the football every frigging week, drinking, we're in a position. We're in a great position. But we just seem to blow it just as well. Aberdeen are shite, but we need to get there. We need to get there, boys.
Aye, fingers crossed. Right, that's us out of time. Thanks very much for coming on and sharing your views. You can catch this episode on all the podcast players, YouTube, and now on Recast as well. And anybody that watches on Recast, when you do so, Hibs get some money for it as well. So we'd encourage everybody to do that. It's a win-win for everybody. Back on Monday with Longbangers. Send us your talking points on Twitter and we'll cover them off on the podcast. And until then, we'll see you later.
See you later.
Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink water, no.